Greetings to all. Welcome to CEC lecture. The topic for discussion is World Day Against Child Labour. In this lecture, we shall deliberate on the origin and significance with respect to observance of World Day Against Child Labour. This lecture will also highlight important themes from previous years of World Day Against Child Labour. As we begin with, Albert Thomas, the first ILO director, said, and we quote from the sources from International Labour Organization, "It is the exploitation of childhood which constitutes the evil most unbearable to human heart. Serious work in social legislation begins always with the protection of children." The World Day Against Child Labour is observed on 12th June annually. This day highlights the need for action against child labour. This day is also known as Anti-Child Labour Day. Let's understand, when did it start? World Day Against Child Labour was introduced in 2002 by International Labour Organization. This day carries huge significance because it provides an opportunity and urges the need to generate an environment for children to grow and also live a dignified life and fight against child labour throughout the world. Some important facts before we talk about World Day Against Child Labour, some important facts with respect to International Labour Organization. International Labour Organization, ILO, was created in 1919 as a part of the Treaty of Versailles that ended the First World War. This day aims to reflect the belief that universal and lasting peace can be accomplished only if it is based on social justice. In 1946, the ILO became a specialized agency of the United Nations. The objectives of International Labour Organization are very important to understand also when we talk about World Day Against Child Labour. The important work of ILO, namely formulation of international policies and programs to promote basic human rights, improve working and living conditions, and enhance employment opportunities. The ILO aims to have an intensive and extensive program of international technical cooperation, training, research, education are also important objectives of ILO with respect to labour issues. To promote and realize standards and fundamental rights and principles at work is another important objective of the work of International Labour Organization. With this, we come to an important aspect, that is, how do we define child labour? And to understand that, once again, we take reference to the definition, the perspective presented by International Labour Organization in various reports, and a broad idea that comes here is that child labour refers to the exploitation of children through any form of work that deprives children of their childhood, interferes with their ability to attend regular school, and is mentally, physically, socially, morally harmful. With this, let's now deliberate on the themes that have been there with respect to observance of World Day Against Child Labour. An understanding of various themes of previous year will be very beneficial for all the viewers and learners in order to understand that what are the various dimensions, what are the various aspects involved with respect to child labor. The World Day Against Child Labor for the year 2022 focused on universal social protection to end child labor. This day, through this theme, attempts to focus the attention of the policymakers, respective national governments, civil society for the need, the significance for increased investment in social protection systems and schemes to establish important solid social protection flows and protect children from child labor. The World Day Against Child Labor for the year 2021 focused on the very important idea, act now, end child labor. Now, 2021 year is also very important to understand, namely that this was the year wherein pandemic had disrupted national and global governance. There was global crisis, and there were reports of increasing child labor across the world due to families and people, individuals facing employment issues. The pandemic also led to many people being out of job, and therefore the day with respect to the theme Act Now, End Child Labor also drew attention that how poverty and child labor are directly linked. With this, let's point out to the important reports presented by International Labour Organization. That is, the child labor has risen to 160 million. And this is the first increase in 2 decades. Further, International Labour Organization and UNICEF also presented a very important warning that 9 million additional children are at risk as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Quoting from the report Child Labor, Global Estimates 2020 Trends and the Road Forward. This report is also available at International Labour Organization website and other online resources. That is, this report pointed out at how child labor reinforces intergenerational poverty, threatens national economies, and undercuts rights guaranteed by the Convention on the Rights of the Child. 2021 was also called as the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor. The report further pointed out that 9 million additional children are at risk of being pushed into child labor by the end of 2022 as a result of the pandemic. A simulation model shows, as the report presented, and we quote from this report, that the number could increase to 46 million if they don't have access to important critical social protection coverage. Moving forward, the World Day Against Child Labor for the year 2020 focused on the theme Protect Children from Child Labor Now More Than Ever. Further, the theme of World Day Against Child Labor for the year 2019 was Children shouldn't work in fields but on dreams. This theme focused on the development of the children working in agriculture sector throughout the world. Quoting from the reports of International Labour Organization with respect to the theme of World Day Against Child Labor 2019, that is, as around 152 million children are still engaged in child labor. And it is said that in almost every sector, child labor exists, but 7 out of every 10 is in agriculture. The International Labour Organization, it is also important that in the year 2019, the ILO celebrated 100 years in 2019 in promoting social justice and decent work for children through anti-child labor policy. Moving forward, the theme for World Day Against Child Labor in the year 2018 was Generation Safe and Healthy. Quoting from the important remarks presented in that year by ILO Director General Guy Ryder on the occasion of World Day Against Child Labor, 12th June 2018, that is, children are more vulnerable to risk than adults. Urgent action is needed to ensure no child under the age of 18 is in hazardous child labor. Once again, these are we quote from the remarks of ILO Director General Guy Ryder on the occasion of World Day Against Child Labor, 12 June 2018, quoting from the web resources of ilo.org. Quoting from an important report towards the urgent elimination of hazardous child labor. In this report towards the urgent elimination of hazardous child labor present at ILO, there are some important aspects and we reflect on it in order to better understand and develop solidarity with respect to various initiatives and ideas on and against child labor. This report pointed out that there is a crucial and mutual link between education and health. Further, certain occupational hazards, including exposure to psychological stress and to commonly used chemicals, are even more serious for children than previously thought. So what is essential that when we look at the important theme of World Day Against Child Labor 2018, namely Generation Safe and Healthy, it is essential to understand that how education and health are crucial with respect to development of children. And when children are pushed into certain occupation, there are related occupational hazards also, from psychological stress to additional burden, and these are indeed very serious challenges, not only with respect to the development issues but also with respect to a huge issue, namely child labor. Moving forward, the theme for World Day Against Child Labor in the year 2017 was In Conflicts and Disasters, Protect Children from Child Labor. Once again, in order to elaborate and deliberate on this theme, we quote from ILO Director General Guy Ryder's perspective in his statement for World Day Against Child Labor, that is, children in areas affected by conflict and disasters are amongst the most vulnerable. No child must be left behind. Now, this theme presented that how it is essential to look at the conflict, to look at disasters with respect to issues of child labor and the need for protection of children thereof. Quoting further from the statement by ILO Director General Guy Ryder in his statement for World Day Against Child Labor in the year 2017, that is, in areas affected by conflict and disaster, homes and schools are often destroyed. Many families lose their means to earn a living. Family and social protection systems break down and increase the risk of child labor. Moving forward, the theme for World Day Against Child Labor in the year 2016 was End Child Labor in Supply Chains. It's everyone's business. Now again, it is essential that as we talk about this theme, that is, we have to ensure that any development work, any business work, any employment avenue has a supply chain. Herein, this day, with the theme for World Day Against Child Labour in 2016 pointed out that we must locate that how child labour is involved in any supply chain, and to whichever possible extent one must attempt to end child labour in supply chain. And most important, the clarion call, it's everyone's business. All of us must get together to strive to ensure that we must act against child labour. The theme for World Day Against Child Labour 2015 was No to Child Labour, Yes to Quality Education. Now, this theme focused particularly and brought our attention towards the importance of quality education as a key step in tackling child labour. The World Day Against Child Labour 2015 also brought forward the need, that is, for free and compulsory and quality education for all children, at least to the minimum age for admission to employment and action to reach those presently in child labour. This theme also drew attention for the need to have new efforts to ensure that any country's policies, national policies with respect to child labour and education are consistent as well as effective. Further, this also brought forward that policies that ensure access to quality education and investment in the teaching profession also. So what we see here is that the World Day Against Child Labour, which was launched first in the year 2002 with respect to the important issue for raising awareness and preventing child labour. The International Labour Organization, the specialized agency of United Nations, the United Nations body that works on global labour-related issues, launched the World Day Against Child Labour to draw attention of the policymakers, of the global community, national governments, respective states, civil society, non-governmental organization, and also amplify efforts to join in various initiatives with respect to fighting against child labour. This day also brings together governments, authorities, local authorities, state level authorities, civil society, workers, international agencies, international workers, employers organization to point out that the issues concerning child labour problem and how every year the bigger problem of child labour must be looked at through a fresh perspective, and also there must be efforts to define guidelines to help child labourers. Mahatma Gandhi ji said, if we are to teach real peace in this world, and if we are to carry on real war against war, then we shall have to begin with the children. It is essential, therefore, that we all must come together to understand the problems, the emerging new dynamics, and work together to not only fight against child labour but also extend all our solidarity, work together with new guidelines, new policy areas, new perspectives to help child labourers. Dear learners, we hope that the lecture on World Day Against Child Labour presented to you important inputs and insights, not only with respect to various themes with respect to World Day Against Child Labour, but also reflect on important dynamics which are essential each year, new story, new perspectives, new dimensions that emerge or that are involved with respect to child labour. Let us all join our efforts. Let us all amplify support to not only get together to solve the child labour problem, but also understand and sensitize ourselves with respect to the new perspective needed with respect to helping the child laborers. We look forward to positive, encouraging feedback from you all. Thank you very much.